Whoa! Get my fresh Azoth rebuff, whatever that was, teleported back into my body. Egads, I was on my way to win. What is all of this? Alright. Alright, I'm coming. Good morning, Eternum. Sports reporter JChalant here at the western gates of Windsward, where Elysian leader Viz has proposed an extreme cross-country and steeplechase real terrain parkour CrossFit challenge. This reporter was there to see them issue the challenge and begin the event, which they hope will mark the beginning of their great push across the island, beginning with a simple hurdle into the first obstacle, a cliff dive to the ground below with shallow water long and to the right. The route then carried on quickly through the farm and onward past the battlegrounds where no challengers awaited to contest them. The next obstacle, a narrow river crossing into a left uphill climb to the first of many hydration and check-in stations, a mandatory stop along this route. As the runners check in at the first hydration station and continue on their way, it's clear that while not everyone is going for a record time, what is important is the teamwork being displayed here today, as nobody is truly lagging behind. Up and over a small hill and onward to the next check-in station, our participants once again prepare for the next obstacle of the course, a river waterfall crossing onto rocky terrain which can be scaled, but can also prove difficult if not done properly, as displayed here. I'll let you decide whether or not I'm displaying the poor form intentionally. The next sequence of the run is quite simple, as you check in at this hydration station just outside the war camp, then enter the camp and encircle it clockwise, checking in at all the additional hydration stations. And once the entirety of this circuit is complete and the rest of the team moves forward, they exit the war camp and gather again outside at this final hydration station and check-in location for the push back to town. Going over the hill and through the woods is the easy part, and so is going back into town without being killed when you're running with a CrossFit club of this caliber. From there, it is a simple stroll through town, down the stairs, and across the bridge to the final check-in station before regrouping on the western gate to run the next lap if necessary. As you can see, this many people participating in the cross-country challenge can quickly put the region into a challengeable state. And once in said state, the event culminates in moving the final finish line to the Windsward Keep. And as the final racers cross the finish line and congregate around the resting flagpole in the center, where participants celebrate their accomplishment and begin stretches and cooldowns, this stage of the triathlon comes to a close, and those who deem themselves most fit stand ready to challenge current leadership for control of the region. While there, this reporter was able to learn about an upcoming fishing tournament to be hosted this Saturday. To participate in this all-faction PvE event, contact Cooley in the description or on the card. Moving on to tonight's scheduled simulated fantasy combat resolutions, brought to you by LARPco and their patent-pending foam core assortment of products. And up first is the Covenant forces of Lost Homeland, giving it their all for Everfall against the forces of Elysian. Elysian last defended themselves against the marauding forces of Planktodogs 2 weeks ago at the peak of the harshest winter in Eternum's history. For Lost Homeland, a change in strategy, diverting their efforts away from the bamboo forest preserves and healing hot springs of Ebonscale. Will this third attempt to seize land from Elysian succeed, or will it be 10 straight for the champs? In the nightcap, the Covenant forces of Calculus have Abacus will travel to the keep of Monarch's Bluff to check their math against the forces of Elysian. The mathletes of Calculus were here last week with a simple task of defining the area under a curve of any given slope, given only 1 point on that slope, and failed. But perhaps that test of mental ability was not in line with the aptitude of simulated fantasy combat, so let's make this week's math simple. Do they have 50 people that are ready? We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant. KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Elysian went out in Monarch's Bluff and extend their Neverfall record to 10. Elysian team leader, Striker, had this to say about tonight's upcoming wars. I understand you have a prepared speech for the war you've declared tonight here in Windsward.
Yeah, so Regime has been living off the coin of Windsward for too long. We plan on taking it back for not only us, but for the allies that lost it. Even with them changing at the last minute their conflict timer to try to have it line up with our Ebonscale war, we were already aware of their intentions and had planned for it. We are fully ready and prepared to field both wars and win them both.
So I understand that you are going to be conducting 2 wars then?
Yes, we have Ebonscale as well at the same time as Windsward.
Speaking of Ebonscale, have you been upkeeping the onsen owners and operators of Ebonscale?
The hot springs have been excellent for us after wars. We've been relaxing there, and we have opened them up to all members of the server. And we welcome everybody to come and take part in the medicinal qualities that they provide. We have been constantly keeping the territory up as best as we can, and welcome everybody who wants to come enjoy the beautifulness that is Ebonscale.
In lighter news, KOTT News crews caught up with Kali about their fishing tournament being held later today. Link in the description and on the card. Thank you for meeting me, Kali. By what time today should people be finalizing their entries and be preparing to start the tournament?
Well, the fishing contest starts at 12:30 p.m. PST. That's when I want everybody to gather into the Discord server, and then I could go over the rules again, and then that is when the location of the contest will be released.
Now I understand that you have some special categories for everyone to set their lures out for?
I decided to add a rarity contest where the rareness of your fish matters, and then we'll also have a prize for the single smallest fish as well. Kind of fun. And also a prize for the first person to catch a legendary fish.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And are there any additional prizes available for participants?
The total prize pool is 36k gold. Managed to get a generous donor for our contest this time around.
The simultaneous simulated fantasy combat resolution events tonight are brought to you by LARPCO brand, patent pending foam core technology. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. In the western bamboo forest preserves of Ebonscale, newcomer Black Dawn Order attempt to make their mark against the forces of Elysian. Nothing is known about this order of marauders, but conditions in Ebonscale are always opportune for visitors. The forecast for tonight's event calls for clear skies, but even in the tropical region of Ebonscale, the weather will be crisp as we slowly climb out of the harshest winter in Eternum's history. Meanwhile, in Windsward and freshly chaffed, the forces of Dug's thighs look to twist control of the region away from the forces of Regime. The Covenant Titans of Regime stand as one of the most formidable battle-ready companies on the server, but will they be able to withstand the might of Dug's thighs? Just how strongly Dug's thighs perform will be determined tonight as they attempt to squeeze out the riches of Windsward. But Regime won't be going down without a fight, and stand ready to test their faith. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Elysian holds off in Ebonscale, allowing 2 points outside the gate to fall, while in Windsward, the forces of Regime complete a full hold against the forces of Dug's thighs. KOTT News was able to secure an interview with an Ebonscale defender about the war.
It was a good war. They put up a good fight. They capped 2 points, but we held down C. Pretty easy.
Onward to Windsward, KOTT News crews were able to catch up with a Regime representative on the steps of City Hall. Alright, it was a full hold. It sounds like they brought the best of the best tonight. Any concerns at any point in the fight that something might go wrong?
We fought Elysian for the 4th time tonight, and, we always give them our fullest respect. We know they are our primary competition. We got a little bit close to losing A and C at one point. However, with the reinforcements on the way there, we were extremely confident we wouldn't fully lose them. And yeah, we managed to lose no flags tonight, which is definitely a change. I don't know if maybe Elysian is using a new shot caller, or maybe there was a little miscommunication on their part during the war. But we still give them our full respect, despite having a complete shutout in the war.
Any members of your team or the other team that performed exceptionally today?
Yeah, definitely. On the enemy team, Spiders, arguably their best healer, did an amazing job. Got focused a lot by us, but nevertheless was still really high on the scoreboard. One of their best mages, Live, Live, did an amazing job as well, despite having a movement bug that prevents you from being able to move easily, and never gave up at any point, which was awesome to see. On our team, we have Demo Man, did an incredible job in the war. I myself, I think, did pretty decently. Pluto, the governor of the RP town, also an incredible performance by him, and honestly just everyone.
No official LARPCO events tonight, but there are several invasions inbound, beginning at 1900 Eternum time in the peat moss oil fields of Weaver's Fen, then 3 simultaneous invasions at 2000, spilling out into Everfall from their unchecked corruption outbreaks, breaking through the Death Wall from the north in Morningdale, and infecting the fish in Reekwater, impacting local fishmongers. At 2030, the forces of Evora will fend off corruption in First Light. And in the final outbreak of the evening at 2100, it's Monarch's Bluff. Be sure to sign up for open tryouts if interested in these events at each town's respective war board. KOTT News would like to thank you all, and we look forward to an exciting new year giving you more news. So be sure to tune in tonight at 11 for more. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Good evening, Eternum. War Correspondent JChalant here, taking cover in Outpost Rush, one of the many events KOTT is involved in behind the scenes. As I survey the skirmish, we appear to outnumber them, and the point appears to be securing. I think I see my editor-in-chief over there on the other ramparts. So once we secure this point, I'll have him say a few words about KOTT. Mansa Musa, leader of Knights of the Turntable. Would you care to tell everybody at home what Knights of the Turntable is all about?
Knights of the Turntable is a band of brothers that have collectively come together in order to defend the rights of all life forms in Avernus, or is it Saturnus? I don't know. I'm elderly and I forget how to say things sometimes. But anyway, we're here together to try to save one another and band together the forces of this world and maybe escape someday into a better place.
Do you have any plans for Knights of the Turntable in the near future?
Yes, we hope to grow our numbers and strength in order to be a more peaceful and reforming company. Instead of running around trying to murder everyone, we hope to grow in that aspect and help one another to learn that we are all family and that we could work together to make this world a great world for everyone. I just believe that, there's got to be a better way than all this fighting and murdering. I mean, I've been around a while and I've killed a lot of people. I've had my bad times in life, and now in my golden years, I'm having my better times in life and trying to learn a better, deeper respect for mankind and humanity as a whole.
Later, I ran into another member of KOTT and asked them what they liked most about Knights of the Turntable.
They are very supportive, and it's not just for PvP or PvE, it's for both. They kind of accept everyone and everything. It's not very like you're forced to go on Discord. They invite you if you want to, and you are more than welcome to. And they encourage it, but you don't have to if you don't like talking, or they're just really supportive and almost like family-like.
So if those points of view resonate with you, be sure to contact Mansa Musa about becoming a potential Knight of the Turntable. Only one LARPCO-sanctioned simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, and it's Primordius Sword, stabbing into the heart of the crocodiles of Cutlass Keys Civil Riot. This will mark the second official event by the sword arm of Primordius, having tried and failed in Morningdale against the forces of Regime. and it's going to take more than a training montage through the salty marshes to find success against Civil Riot, who themselves have been training in the Marauders' mosh pit of mayhem. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, but 3 officially sponsored simulated fantasy combat resolution on tap for tonight. First up, the current Covenant contender, Regime Yacht Club, attempt to assail the landlocked region of Everfall against the forces of Elysian. Powerhouse Regime is fresh off a full hold 2 nights ago against the forces of Doug's Thighs, so should be ready at full strength tonight. As for the champs, I think they're pretty rested as well, having been a week since their last defense against the forces of Lost Homeland. And this will mark Elysian's 11th opportunity to extend their own current Neverfall record from 10 to 11. So I look forward to a good fight. In the second fight, former founding house Primordus Virtue is sick of the cold north and want to claim some land in First Light from the Marauders of Evora. Recent discoveries of blight in the north have given Primordus reason to make better homes for themselves during the harshest winter in Eternum's history. More on that tomorrow. So that story again. Second fight in First Light due to blight and winter plight by LARPco, aight? And speaking of LARPco, in the final fight of the evening, a scrappy group of 40s and 50s pushed the ever-turbulent region of Restless Shores into a state of conflict and declare war. Upon hearing word of ship construction taking place in the bays of Restless Shores, the 1st Dragoon Division sprung into action in order to seize the vessel as their own. But Regime RP Town is willing to welcome them, asking only that they might consider following in their holy path of finding a way to sail around the Death Wall. I fear negotiations will break down. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Regime's Yacht Club sail into the Keep of Everfall, snapping Elysian's Neverfall streak at 10. And if that wasn't news enough, breaking news this morning as our friendly, furry Yeti predicts 2 more weeks of the harshest winter in Eternum's history. Hello, Mirgos, JChalant, KOTT News. What news of your attempt to return home through the caves? You say you saw Yetis in the cave still? So you're not going home yet? And that means the cold weather will last for 2 more weeks. Well, thank you for your prediction, Murgos, the Wandering Winter Convergence Yeti. In other news, when Murgos does finally leave, so too will all the mystical tokens he created. So be sure to use them or lose them. Only one LARPco-sponsored simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, and it's the forces of Vendetta declaring a Shokugeki in the fishmongering village of Reekwater against the Iron Chefs of Elysian. This will be Vendetta's 2nd attempt to secure land, having failed against Dominion in First Light 3 weeks ago. But the terrain here is much different in the kitchen, and if you don't know how to prepare a fresh fish from catch to plate, you could end up served. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the Elysian Iron Chefs of Reekwater went out over Vendetta in the medium salmon Shokugeki. Meanwhile, in Everfall, the Regime Yacht Club continues to celebrate their victory 2 nights ago. No word yet on how they intend to treat the citizens who are still here sheltering from the harshest winter in Eternum's history. 2 official simulated fantasy combat resolution events tonight brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, newcomer Aurum Profanum have set their sights on the oil fields of Weaver's Fin, declaring war against the forces of Elysian 69. Unable to secure an interview, nothing is known about this newcomer, neither about who they are, nor what their plans may be. So perhaps they have kept secret some great strategy, and we can look forward to seeing it unveiled on the battlefield tonight. In the late matchup, it's the forces of Vendetta, shifting their attention to the western coast of Monarch's Bluff and the forces of Elysian Reclamation. In last night's matchups, Vendetta was able to secure Objective C early in the first period, but got no farther than that. But the signups for tonight's affair are still incomplete, so it may just come down to whomsoever shows up. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.